Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coach Craig's Sports. Today is Wednesday, July 13th, and this is the MLB DFS video for today. So in today's video, we'll be taking a quick look back at yesterday's picks, seeing how they turned out, talking about my core plays for today's FanDuel main slate. It's a 9-game main slate overall, and then going over to my article over at WeBetATS.com and talking about my top GPP stacks for today. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. At the pitcher position, we had Spencer Strider, $9,100. Got to 35 points. He was a push yesterday, only ended up pitching 4 2/3 innings. If he gets that extra out to get to 5 innings, he gets a win yesterday, and then we have 7 more points. He's at 42 points and be really happy. So the difference between him being a push and being a hit, very, very minimal yesterday. So it wasn't a bad play by any means. Just wasn't quite, at that threshold we were looking for. And then at second base, we had Gleyber Torres at $3,000. Got to 24.4 points, so he was a hit. Very good play overall. Then at third base or shortstop, just depending on where you played him at, we had Willie Castro, $2,300. Got to 12.2 points, so he was a hit. Then Christian Yelich got scratched yesterday due to back tightness. So I said to switch to Luis Urias. I was kind of between him and Willie Adames. Wish I would have went with Willie Adames, but I ended up playing both. Adames was really good at it. He got to like 28.4 points. Luis Urias, on the other hand, had 0 points yesterday and was 0 for 4, so obviously he was a miss. Then last but not least, we had Shohei Ohtani, who had pretty good history versus Luis Garcia yesterday. $4,100. Got to 6 points, so he was a push overall yesterday. So a little bit of mixed results here overall. If you went with some other decent plays like I did have in my cheat sheet, had a pretty decent chance of cashing yesterday as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my core picks for today. So we're going to start off at the pitcher position with Jon Gray at $9,000, averaging just under 31 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Oakland A's, who do not have a very good offense by any means. Jon Gray has pretty decent history versus them outside of Sean Murphy. He's like the only hitter that's hit him very well in this lineup. And if he can just avoid the damage to Sean Murphy, going to be a very strong day for Jon Gray. We've seen that strikeout upside there, and versus this Oakland A's offense, it should be there once again today. Then for my hitters, you're going to see a lot of the White Sox here. Can't really get around it too much today, but the first one that I do have is third baseman Yoan Moncada, $2,300. Really up and down season for him. There's been good games, there's been bad games, there's been injuries a couple different times this season. But looking like he's starting to put it all back together once again. $2,300, dirt cheap pay down price tag. He's 6 for 15 versus Aaron Savali, who's the starting pitcher for the Cleveland Guardians today. So definitely have some interest in Moncada once again today. He's probably the one out of the 3 White Sox that I do have listed here. If you really want to switch off of, you could do so, but the price tag is just so cheap that it's probably going to pay off either way. Then at shortstop, we have Tim Anderson, $3,600, averaging over 10 fantasy points per game on the season. And he is 7 for 17 with 3 home runs versus Aaron Savali in his career, so definitely a ton of upside there. And I'm just going to skip down to the last White Sox in the outfield, Eloy Jimenez, $3,000, only averaging about 7 fantasy points per game on the season, but obviously was injured for a good period of time. Starting to hit the ball once again. He is 5 for 10 versus Aaron Savali with 2 home runs in his career, so there's definitely a lot of upside there as well. And then last but not least, in terms of hitters, we have Giancarlo Stanton at $3,800, averaging over 11 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Cincinnati Reds and Mike Minor today. He is 7 for 23 with 4 home runs versus Mike Minor today, so obviously the most home runs that anyone has hit against an opposing starting pitcher in their career going today. Definitely going to have some exposure to Giancarlo Stanton once again. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $13,300 remaining, just over $3,300 per player. As I mentioned, you could pay up to a different player for your own Moncada if that's something you're interested in. If you want to pay up from Jon Gray, you can definitely do it. There's some pretty good high-end pitchers there. But personally, I just went down to a little bit cheaper option. But there is a ton of good pitching on today's slate overall, which is not something we always see on a 9-game slate. But at the same time, kind of overloaded today, and hopefully that drives the ownership down on some of these pitchers like Jon Gray, who I do like quite a bit once again today. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my article over at WeBetATS.com and talk about my top GPP stacks for today. So we're going to start off with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're going against Adam Wainwright today. A lot of these hitters have pretty good history versus Adam Wainwright. He's not a guy that you're afraid of when it comes to like strikeouts and everything like that. He's still not a bad pitcher given his age and everything else. But this Dodgers offense is one that I do want some exposure to once again today. Then for the third day in a row, we're playing the San Diego Padres. Obviously, still playing at Coors Field, going against Chad Kuhl. A lot of these hitters have hit him pretty well in the past. Not too much else we can really say here at this point in time. And then we have the White Sox, who I already talked quite a bit about, since there's 3 players in my core picks from this White Sox team overall. Definitely a lot of interest and exposure to them. A lot of these guys have hit Aaron Savali pretty well in their career. Obviously, if you want to throw Luis Robert in with the 3 that I already have, you got 4 guys that have hit Aaron Savali super, super well throughout their careers. And then last but not least, we have the Yankees going against Mike Minor. Mike Minor is probably not a guy who should be starting at the major league level at this point in time anymore. No offense to him by any means, but this Yankees offense very, very potent. Mike Minor not what he used to be, and probably not a guy that should be starting once again. But with that being said, these are my core picks as well as top GPP stacks for today, July 13th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to leave them down in the comments below and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, be sure to let me know your favorite play on today's slate, whether it's someone from my core 5 picks, whether it's someone from my top GPP stacks, or whether it's a completely different player you guys think I missed. Definitely interested in hearing what you have to say. But with that being said, if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS, mainly MLB DFS at this point in time since that's the major sports still going on. But once we get back around to the NFL and NBA regular seasons, I'll be covering those 2 sports as well. And then with that being said, if you are newer current subscribers yet to do so, also be sure to hit that notification bell down below. It's going to let you know every single time I post up a new video. Like I've been saying, I post up daily MLB DFS videos just like this. But with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And then last but not least, special little shout out to each and every one of you watching today's video. I truly do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Definitely means a lot to me, and I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.